Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lydia and I discuss Christianity and narcissism. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I have had a hard time really coming up with a script and I keep getting writer's block and nothing is coming together and I've been very busy. But I thought I would just come and just talk about what's on my mind and see if I can make sense this way. I have some early memories of my sister just being very angry with me and not really understanding what I did to provoke it. I remember being quite young and her just getting very angry at my resting face, the way my lips looked, and she was constantly telling me that my lips were sticking out, I needed to fix it, my lips were sticking out, but she would be extremely angry. So I would try to fix it, and I taught myself to have a different resting face. So things like that. She would be really angry, and some of this might have been happening under my parents' noses. They were very distracted. They've been a little more honest in recent years about how hard she was. I also had another older sister with severe special needs who was consuming a lot of their focus and time and also adding stress. So they weren't necessarily approving of it. They just didn't have mental space for a lot. She had a way of questioning them if they were correcting her. She was hard to be corrected. She was hard to correct. So as time went on, they did not give her really a lot of responsibilities with a lot of things because they were trying to limit their interactions with her. So as a result, a lot more got placed on me. I also have a younger sister, but because she was the youngest, she was not given as much pretty much the whole way through my childhood. But my older sister also seemed to really have an interest in spiritual things. She had regular devotions. She memorized a lot of scripture. And, she would have these crazy bursts of rage. It was clear that she really hated me, didn't like me getting attention from other people, didn't want me to be happy. But she would come to me and confront me and say, I want to confront you about some problems that you have, and I want to talk to you from the Bible about what your problems are. And so that was confusing for me. I felt like she might be onto something, and I always felt like, I felt like I just kind of had to overlook the wrong in her, the wrong stuff that she was doing, and I had to just focus on myself, because if I did try to bring up something ever so tepidly, it would cause a really big reaction, so it wasn't going to be productive. So she would start these arguments, and she would be sometimes clearly angry, but she would bring scripture into them. And she started this pretty young, and there was no end in sight. And so this is something that I had no choice but to endure, and I also felt somewhat obligated to finish it. Like I felt like, well, there's this problem between us. I need to just try to get through the end of it. And at times I did have an overly sensitive conscience, so I felt like there might be something to what she's saying. It's very complicated and hard to understand, but I kept thinking that. And something about this psychological abuse is that, there's a lot of rage and a lot of anger and a lot of criticism and a lot of mocking that is only ever one way. But there might be like little bursts of something that's not quite as awful, some almost kindness. And that adds to a lot of confusion for someone. And I guess I'm trying to sort of explain why this went on so long. There was a lot of times scripture being brought into the conversations. And then something else is that she could put on one of her masks to the outside world. So you see her acting a little better for other people. There are times when you can see her really really trying to be at the top of the conversation and talk about her skills or have advice. And so it's not like she's completely a different person, but I think that we saw something that seemed better to other people outside of the family. So we would see this, she would be involved in ministries, and she would, be sharing her heart. She would be bringing scripture into conversations appropriately. And I think that we all honestly thought, like, that is the real person. She just has this major blind spot, and she has, like, there's this hard stuff that we have to deal with at home, but this isn't really who she is. For some reason, we're just bringing this out of her. I think this is this is sort of what she made us believe. And it's odd that someone so young, I mean, very, very early on, could have this kind of effect on her family. But I think that we thought, she was going to change her. This wasn't really who she was. Like, she actually eventually got married and had a family, and she would talk about their desires and how, the things that they wanted to do, and it seemed believable because you see her going out in the world with this mask, and there are times when it slips a little bit, when somebody is trying to joke around and tease her, and it's not something she's wanting. And it's just very, very confusing thing. It took me a long time to realize that what I was seeing was who she was, and that she had a lot of rage that was really just for me. She was extremely, extremely selfish. So really anyone in her path got very burned regularly and caused a lot of trauma. But she made it very clear through her actions that she hated me, and that I was the one who had a lot of problems. And she was constantly coming to me and telling me, that she was really concerned for me. She's picking up on a little bit of anger, or a lot of anger that I have toward her that's unresolved. So let's have a long talk and hash it out and try to make it better. But, and I never really could question the fact that she was also angry. And I don't think I even really thought about that. I don't think this is something that really registered. It was very, very confusing, and I would be open and honest with her and explain that, yes, I am struggling with anger, and yes, this is something that I need to pray about. This, like, I am having a hard time, setting this aside. And it's something that really, that I really struggled with for a long time, even after I broke contact. She used so many scriptures with me all the time, talking to me about what a horrible person I was. And, and I would hear these scriptures, and they would really, like, I didn't really know what to do with them, and it was very, very uncomfortable and unsettling, especially in, it's at 1 John, talking about loving your brother. And more recently, in the past few weeks, it dawned on me that she was not loving me. Like, this was horrific abuse, and she was not loving me. And these scriptures were also written for her. There was a great injustice, and I had no agency. I didn't believe that I was supposed to correct people moving out of the home. For some reason, I came away with this idea that I don't question fairness. I just hope that other people at work or somewhere else are going to do the right thing, but it's not for me to say anything. And but probably my relationship with her had something to do with this. I think it's complicated, all the reasons. But I kept thinking that, she's my sister. This is a burden that I have to bear. I kept, like, there were a lot of scriptures that I felt like were telling me to stay in a relationship, and I was in a place of really, really bad confusion. And I don't think that anybody would have really understood what I was going through. And I think, if you try to explain to somebody, you hear, well, you don't gossip, you go directly to the person. And but these scriptures don't apply. They don't work in very, very difficult situations like the one I was in. And I believe that a lot was taken from me. I believe God is bigger than that, but a lot was taken from me. And I feel like I feel so where I am right now is that I don't feel like being angry is necessarily going, like staying in a state of anger and not, you know, moving forward and trying to accomplish something with my life is necessarily doing any good. But I felt for so long that I wasn't supposed to feel this anger, and it was been like more in the past 10 years that I've kind of like had waves of anger and just kind of trauma resurfacing every now and then. And I think I've just been realizing that the anger is something that I do have to feel. I do have to say, yes, this was awful. I have to call it like it is. So that's one thing. But I also know that I enabled a lot of abuse that's been a more recent revelation from things that I've listened to and read, that I was actually enabling it. I don't feel like I had a way out. I don't feel like I knew anything. I feel like when I was living in that home, I had to survive. I didn't have a way out. And then as an adult, I didn't really have a way out. Partly because I didn't understand it. And I continued to live with her, and then I moved up here, and I moved far away from her, and she continued to have rage sometimes over the phone. She would have something that she needed me to do, and it wouldn't happen. And it's not like it completely changed. It definitely set the stage for the deliverance that I experienced down the road. But I guess I'm trying to just sort of chat a little bit about why it took me so long to get out, some of the confusion that I was under, and why it was happening in the first place. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up for now, and hopefully I'll be able to add some more details in time, but just wanted to go ahead and post something for now for anyone watching. Thank you.